Hello family and welcome back. In today's tutorial I'll be sharing with you how to cut and sew two-part corsets step by step. Kindly don't forget to subscribe if it's your first time interacting with my channel. Also like and leave a comment down below. So guys, first I'll start by drafting a basic bodice pattern. Here is my shoulder line and the side edge is center front, assuming it's on fold. So I want to take horizontal measurements. I'll take shoulder line to bust line at 10 inches and mark there, and then shoulder line to under bust at 13 inches, and lastly shoulder line to waistline at 16 inches. We'll then square out lines across all the marked points. After that, I'll go ahead and label the lines starting from shoulder line at the very top, bust line follows, under bust line, then half length or waistline, whichever name you choose to call it. And since I'm done taking horizontal measurements, I'll now go to the next thing, which is working on the yoke part. And here the shoulder line, I'm measuring half shoulder measurement, then 1 inch down from shoulder line again, and this is for shoulder slope guys. Then a straight line like I'm doing with a straight ruler. From there we'll take neckline measurement, that is 3 inches neck width by another 3 inches neck depth. And then using a French curve ruler, we'll now draw neckline by connecting these two marks with a curve. And once I'm through with that, I'll now find armhole depth, which is achieved by bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5. I'll mark at 7.5 inches from shoulder slope, then a line across. That's the chest line, which is also armhole depth, and we label it as CL, meaning chest line. I want to now mark half bust circumference again on chest line. I used 7 inches earlier on shoulder line, that's what I'll mark, and then join it to shoulder slope with a vertical line. From there I'll find armhole depth midpoint, put a mark, and then I'll go in by 0.5 inches at that exact point. And lastly, mark quarter of bust circumference on chest line. That's your bust measurement divided by 4 guys. And with that, I'm going to draw armhole using a French curve ruler with a curve passing through all these 3 marks. We are done with the yoke part guys. Let's now mark half bust span measurement on waistline and then also on bust line. And we'll draw a vertical line like I'm doing. Second to that, we'll find shoulder midpoint, mark it, then extend the already drawn vertical line to it with a straight ruler. Here I'm measuring 0.5 inches towards the center front on this dart line, then another 0.75 inches on the opposite side of the line, which I'm just going to join to under bust line with straight lines. I'll now measure 1 inch down from bust line on the dart line still, then use a French curve ruler to draw some tiny curves to the mark as I'm doing. Guys, next step is to draw an arc here. The radius I'll use is the measurement between bust line and under bust line, which I find to be 3 inches. Now I'm just going to draw an arc nicely with the 3-inch radius. Having drawn the arc, I'll measure 0.5 inches again on each towards the center front, then 0.75 inches on the opposite side of the line, and I'll connect the mark to bust line with straight lines. And for someone who is a bit bustier, let's say 36 plus bust circumference, you can use 1 inch and 1.5 inches respectively. Now at the center front, I'll go down by 0.5 inches from chest line, and still on center front, I'll measure 0.5 inches inwards. And then a tiny line like I'm doing. So now I'll use a French curve ruler to draw a curve here. I'll finish up the first part of the cap with a curve again. The first part is done. For the second part, I'll first find midpoint here. and then measure 0.5 inches down from that midpoint. So it's at that mark where I'll draw a new chest line across, and then draw top part of the second part of the curve like I'm showing you guys. With that, I'll finish up lower part with a curve from underbust line to the new drawn chest line, and that's it guys. From there, I'll go ahead and replace the dart on chest line from quarter bust circumference mark, and then measure quarter of waist circumference on waistline plus 1.5 inches dart replacement. After that, we'll go ahead and finish our front part outline by joining these two marks with a line. And once that is done, I'll use this front pattern to draw back part. It's a lot easier this way, but first I'm going to label every part. These as 1, 2, and then center front and side front. Also arrows here to avoid any confusion. So like I said earlier, I'll put it on another plain paper where I am to draft back part, and first thing I'll pin them down. Once everything is secured with pins, I'll use this tracing wheel tool to trace out chest line, waistline, and then that line as well. I forgot and traced out the old chest line instead of the new one, and I had to do some adjustment. After I'm done tracing, I'll remove all the pins now that I have all the lines needed traced out. I'll then make the lines visible by drawing again with the marker pen. We have our waistline, the new chest line, the center back, and then the darts as well. I want to now measure 0.5 inches on each side of the dart line, and then we'll use that to complete the dart. And here I'm measuring quarter of bust circumference on this line at the top. No allowance added this time. Again, quarter of waist circumference on waistline plus 1 inch dart replacement. And with that, I'll finish up back part outline like I'm doing. I want to now slope back top edge a bit towards the center front. That's why you see me measure 0.5 inches down, then I'll just connect to the right corner with the line. One last thing guys, I'll be using lacing loops instead of zipper. So now I'll go in by 1.5 inches from center back line, then a vertical line along like that, and the rest of the piece will be slashed out. Also, we'll have loops stitched here. Guys, I'm done drafting back part. This means I'll just cut along the outline. Then I'll also go ahead and cut front part outline. Then we'll trace everything on fabric and lining. I traced out every piece of the pattern papers on fabrics and also traced on linings too, leaving 0.5 inches stitching allowance all round except for center front, which is on fold. Now I'll make notches where there are arrows so that once the papers are removed, I'm able to still know which part goes where. And I'm going to also notch the center backs too, as well as the darts, both at the top and bottom. After I'm done, we'll remove all pins used. I'm also going to put away pattern paper pieces and linings too, leaving only fabric pieces. Here are front and bust pieces. I'll head over to the sewing machine in order to stitch each side piece to the center front with about 0.5 inches. This is what I have after stitching. From here, I'll bring back pieces and also stitch them as shown. Remember, I've already stitched darts and ironed, and I'll be stitching with about 0.5 inches stitching allowance. I'm done stitching back pieces as explained, and I've ironed them flat. So now I'll top stitch these boning casings as I'm about to show you. They are not ready-made by steps. I made them by myself by ironing. Boning casings are in place guys. I'll now work on cap pieces. This is how the caps look like after stitching cap pieces together. And here with me are bra caps from an old bra. I'm just going to cover up bra caps with the cap pieces by pinning all round, and once I'm done pinning, I'm going to stitch with about 0.25 inches. This is what I've got after stitching like I explained, and I also left some stitching allowance here at the top. I'll now demonstrate how to stitch each cap on the underbust piece. You first notch cap's midpoint. I'll do that by folding this way and then notch at the center. So now we'll match cap center to underbust piece center. And then stitch all round with about 0.5 inches. Guys, I'm done stitching and I like the outcome. I'll now insert boning tapes in each of the casings. Just ensure there are stitching allowances both at top and bottom so that your needle doesn't break when you'll be stitching. After inserting all boning tapes in their casings, I'll top stitch around the cap area for both. I'm done top stitching. I hope you all can see that. I'll then bring lining piece, which I'll stitch on the fabric at the bottom and top edges with about 0.5 inches allowance. As you can see, I'm putting right sides facing each other, and then the side will be left open for now. And here is it after attaching lining to fabric. I'll now turn everything inside out, then iron it flat. And while I was ironing the cap top edges, I used hemming gum to prevent the lining from popping on the fabric's right side. I've also ironed side edges inwards, as you can see. I'm now going to cut out 8 pieces for loops, 4 for each side. Now with these loop pieces, I'm going to be inserting them one by one in between fabric and lining as I pin. Then after pinning all of them, I'll just go ahead and top stitch the side edges. I'm done top stitching. What is now left is to lace using this long strap I also made. Here is the final look of my lovely corset. Kindly don't forget to subscribe. Also like and leave a comment down below if you need any clarification concerning this top. I'll meet you guys in our next tutorial.